Alright guys, it's August the 3rd. Welcome back to my channel. Happy belated birthday to my brother Taylor. Have a lovely day or week this weekend. I know you're probably going pretty ham in Toronto, so wish I was there with you. I already recorded this once and my battery died, then I recorded it again, and in between that my map fell down on my head. So this is my third time around. The good thing about this is that I definitely know what I want to say, so let's dive right into it. Okay, so Sy Hersh drops a huge bomb this week and basically is recorded talking about Seth Rich. Let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about Sy Hersh, then let's talk about Seth Rich, then let's talk about the implications with the intelligence community. I'm going to keep it to those three things. This could be like 15 different videos, but I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Sy Hersh. Sy Hersh was is a two-time Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. He reported on the My Lai massacre in Vietnam. People say he was responsible for ending the Vietnam War. Extremely well-respected, high-regarded journalist. He's the person who broke the Abu Ghraib story, the torture in the prison, which was a huge scandal, which basically made us look at the Bush Doctrine and torture and changing those laws, and really is leading to obviously Gitmo closing with Obama, but really was a huge story as well. He's also been responsible for talking about the chemical weapons in Syria and how the first chemical weapons attack definitely looked like it was done by the rebels and not Assad, and how the second one looked like it was a traditional strike by Assad which hit a location where there was high-level targets that they were aiming for, and there was a chemical reaction based on something that blew up in that building. Some are saying there was fertilizer and things of that nature for agriculture in there, along with other supplies for that town. So please go and read his articles on the chemical weapons attacks. Learn a little bit about him. This guy used to work for the New York Times before the New York Times became, not worth wiping your, ass with, and essentially he's probably the best investigative reporter alive. Let's leave it at that. That's Seymour Hersh in a nutshell. Okay, Seth Rich, IT worker. He supported Bernie Sanders in the primary. He worked for the DNC. He worked in the IT department, but he was working on voter rolls, voter ID, voter registration, but from the IT side. He had a lot of access passwords in the DNC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz's laptops or iPads. He had all the intel from the inside in terms of emails coming in and out, internally. So access to what everybody's saying to everybody. And the story goes, and this is the speculation part, and then we'll go into facts, then we'll go back to speculation. The story is that he was pro-Bernie. He saw that Bernie was getting the screw job. They were basically rigging it against him with super delegates, with fundraising, essentially just never giving him a chance to win. And that really obviously upset a lot of Bernie supporters, even to this day. The Wikileaks has a pretty clear trail showing that Bernie was never had a chance to win. So the story goes that after the primaries, and it looks like it's basically an open and shut case, Seth Rich contacts WikiLeaks and says, look, I got intel that shows that Bernie was rigged. I want to get this out there. I want you guys to pay me. I've got all the data. That information is now coming to light in this Sy Hersh recording, which is insane for this to be coming out from him. He would never say this unless it was true. So basically the Capitol Police and the FBI got access to his computer, and it's saying that Seth Rich was in contact with WikiLeaks trying to sell this data. Now, they also looked at how the information was extracted from the DNC. And again, CrowdStrike is the only company that's been allowed to look at those servers. They haven't given them to Congress. They haven't let a third party look at them. And CrowdStrike, which is basically a shill for the DNC, has been the ones that have said, oh no, this was definitely a hack. Guccifer 2.0, Russian collusion, this is definitely a hack for sure. Well, actually the download speed, or the upload speed, is way too quick for it to be a hack. It's only from the inside out that this could have been done, which means this was a leak. This was taken from inside, from somebody who had access, and they zip drived it super quick, and then they put it in a Dropbox where it was then taken to WikiLeaks. So this is a huge story, and let's see if it actually gets any coverage in the mainstream media. So far you haven't seen anything. I did see on August 1st that they said basically that Seth Rich, Imran Awan, what to believe, what not, is this fake news, conspiracy theories, etc. They all sort of prepped sort of the general public on August 1st with all of a sudden talking about the connection between Imran Awan and Seth Rich, and then this gentleman who was investigating on behalf of a Republican donor, he came out and decided he was going to, file a lawsuit saying he never said those things. So they sort of did what they do best. When they know they're about to get the hammer dropped on them, they created this misdirection cloud about, this private investigator who used to work for the Washington Police Department. They bring out him, shaking things up with Fox. They, continuously bring up the fact that Seth Rich's family don't want anything to do with this. Then they try to tie Seth Rich to Imran Awan, which is very, very weak tie at best. Maybe they cross paths. Obviously Imran Awan worked for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and so did Seth Rich. So they probably met, but that story is also not a story. So this is how they sort of try to shift the narrative, when the real story is Seth Rich was shot in the back twice on his way home. Whether or not you believe it's a murder, that's up for you to decide. I'm not going to comment on that. If you have to gamble on it, it's pretty much a 50-50. They said it was a robbery. His watch is still there, his iPhone's still there, his wallet's still there. So that's a huge red flag times 3. The guy has full access to the DNC. They got information on his computer saying he was trying to contact WikiLeaks. You got Julian Assange saying, look what happened to that guy from the DNC. And then they press him on it and he goes, we always protect our sources. He's basically saying that that's the guy who gave it to him. He's always claimed that it wasn't the Russians. He's always claimed that. Whether or not you want to believe Julian Assange or not, I don't think he has a vested interest in who wins between Hillary and Trump. He definitely doesn't care about Vladimir Putin. He's locked in the Ecuadorian embassy in England, okay? The guy is just there to screw with anybody who is abusing power. That's my take on it. And, everybody loved Julian Assange for a while, and now he's like public enemy number 1. Sy Hersh even says in that recording that he avoids Julian Assange and doesn't like to be even associated with those nefarious types because it puts him on the hit list. So, listen to that recording. There are bomb after bomb after bomb in there, and whether or not you believe or agree with everything in there, there is some speculation. He doesn't name sources specifically, but Sy Hersh has a record of excellence, so I essentially will take him at face value. There's a very few journalists who I will take at face value. He is number 1 on the list of people I would take at face value. So insane bombs dropped in terms of Seth Rich and the DNC. And him essentially saying on the record, this was a leak from inside the DNC, it wasn't a hack. So where does it leave us now? So, fast forward, all the drama, Podesta, the information that's in his emails about his connections with the Russians, how they're treating Bernie Sanders. And then all of a sudden the story changes to Russian collusion with Trump, and they're looking for the last year basically for something to pin on him, which is total nonsense. And, Sy Hersh brings it up very, very clearly in that recording when he talks about Brennan and Clapper, James Clapper and John Brennan, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. These nefarious, duplicitous, MFers are the worst of the worst, going purely rogue in the CIA and the DNI, and running the DNI. These guys are the worst actors. They're at the Aspen conference this week talking about, if Trump gets rid of Sessions, this is the end. We got a bipartisan get rid of this guy. Unacceptable. You're done, bud. You were a civil servant. You're out of office. Stop stirring the pot. And Wolf Blitzers are like, it would have to be done with impeachment. It would have to be done the legal way. They're basically, slowly but surely, Al Gore's on the Late Show. I think something extreme is going to happen soon. Okay, guys, why don't you just come out and say, somebody killed the president? You're out of control. You're out of control. And these guys come out and say 17 different agencies actually said that there was Russian collusion. Sy Hersh says it perfectly in this recording, and you should listen to it. I know I keep saying that. I'm probably going to link to it in this video. You gotta listen to it. 17 of 17 agencies never agree on everything. And when you're saying, the assessment is that all 17 agencies agreed. What? So the Coast Guard agreed, and the Air Force and stuff. They got no business being part of this Russian collusion story. They wouldn't even have looked at any of the raw data. Number 2, an NIE is a national intelligence estimate versus an intelligence assessment. So what they did was an intelligence assessment, which is basically an educated guess. So when you see Clapper and when you see Brennan in front of the Congress and in front of the special committees, they're all going, it is our assessment that there was Russian collusion. It is our assessment that there is Russian collusion. Guess what? When Obama wants to do a drone strike, or when they decide to go and kill bin Laden, they receive national intelligence estimates. This is hard data. There's dissent within it. So when you look at that information, you see the pros, you see the cons. You see the people that agree, you see the people that disagree. You see the percentage chance of success, you see the percentage chance of failure. It's a truly verifiable document with pros and cons, with actual percentages of who's going to do what and when and how and what people think. An assessment is just the best guess of the people that wrote it. It's absolute nonsense. It is not a legitimate document, and that is why Sy Hersh and anybody who knows anything about intelligence will tell you that those assessments on Russian collusion are pure nonsense. Number two, there's no dissent. So I'm sorry, out of 17 agencies, there's no dissent. Number three, Brennan handpicked the people that wrote that. So again, this guy is ridiculous. He goes from different departments, CIA, NSA, FBI, DNI, whatever he wants to do, and he picks a couple guys that are in his pocket and he goes, yeah, I want you to all collaborate on this. I want you to say this Russian collusion. You can look at the dossier that McCain picked up, which is full of nonsense. You can use these bogus interviews that you pulled, from Mike Flynn on RT, throw that in there. You can say that Carter Page is an agent. You can throw in Michael Cohen, who we can say went to the Czech Republic even though he was at a baseball game in California. You can even throw in, Trump being in a music video, with some Russian pop star, and when he tried to build the Trump Tower, 7 years ago. Put that all in together, tie it up in a bow, and just call it Russian collusion, because we want to distract you from the actual collusion at the DNC. When we have Pakistani intelligence officers working in Congress, in the IT department, committing bank fraud, sending information back to their house, having laptops and servers access and all sorts of crazy stuff, getting paid 4 times the amount they're supposed to get paid. You got the guy who's running the voter rolls and ID getting shot in the back, after he contacted Wikileaks, and Podesta saying in an email, we got to make an example of someone. I mean, look, this stuff is dodgy as hell. And then they come out with this Trump is a Russian colluder story. I mean, do you know how angry Trump must have been when Sessions recused himself? They were essentially trying to misguide and misdirect the general public. When all those leaks occurred, they were like, oh my God, we are screwed, man. They know that we screwed over Bernie. They know about the Uranium One deal. Ooh, they also know we're taking tons of money from the Saudi Arabians and China. They know about all the backhanded deals with the Clinton Foundation. Our CEO just quit, Eric Braverman. He ran to the Russian embassy. Bill's getting paid $12 million to stand in for speeches for Hillary, in the Middle East. Libya, we got dodgy stuff with Benghazi, we conquered, he died, laughing, cackling like a maniac. All the things that you can think of that are terrible. Huma Abedin and her crazy husband texting 15-year-olds. You don't even want to go into that side of things with Epstein. We could save that. We could save that video for another day, But let's just look at straight up DNC trying to say they were hacked by the Russians when their own guy for sure leaked it because they screwed over Bernie Sanders. The FBI knows this, and they're just... James Comey will go down as one of the worst things of all time to happen to the U.S. Feelings of trust in government institutions. You, sir, have destroyed public perception of the FBI. And DOJ's handcuffed because the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General aren't even in this investigation. Robert Mueller is the guy that they put in charge of the 9/11 Commission, who doesn't even look into anything that was a little bit dodgy about 9/11. He's the one that gave it the checkmark of, the public story that everybody reported on the news is exactly how it happened, and there was a couple of years investigation, and he just said, yeah, it's all above board. That guy is in charge of the Russian investigation. 99% of the lawyers that work at his firm donate to the Democrats. Look, man, I'm an independent. I got no horse in this race. But I'll tell you, when I smell something fishy, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. How can this continue to happen? So for me, Sy Hersh is the best thing that ever happened to this story because he is the most reputable and has the highest level of integrity. And for him to be on a recording and not come out and say, this recording is absolutely false, I was just spouting off and speculating, he is standing by what he said. He doesn't necessarily say that Seth Rich was murdered, neither am I, but he's definitely saying he was a leaker, and he is also saying that the intelligence community made up the collusion story. A national intelligence estimate is different from an intelligence assessment. What we got was an intelligence assessment passed off as an estimate, and 17 agencies would never all agree. There would be dissent. That is, in a nutshell, all credibility gone. So when these monkeys are on at the Aspen conference talking about if Trump gets rid of Sessions, we need to have bipartisan support in the Congress and Senate, and we got to do something about this. Trying to call for impeachment or something more nefarious like Al Gore, on the Late Show. These guys are the deep state, personified, and all you have to know about motive. What's the motive? The motive is simple. If Hillary Clinton gets elected, they keep their jobs, and if she gets thrown to the wayside and Trump gets elected, they're fired, which is what happened. So if you don't think that they don't have a little bit of a vendetta, or they had a vested interest in maintaining their full access to full clearance, getting kicked to the curb, Mike Pompeo going in there, it's clear as day, Absolute power corrupts absolutely. These guys have been living that dream for a long time, and now they're collecting pension checks. So I hope you liked the video. Sorry I got a little heated. I'm just happy that Sy Hersh came out and dropped these bombs. It's great. Hopefully this story continues to pick up steam. Obviously you haven't seen it in the mainstream media, because you never will, because they don't report on anything that actually makes sense. But certainly you'll see it on all the alternative media sites. Listen to that tape, and then comment, like, subscribe. If you want a follow-up video, let me know. I really just scratched the surface on this one, and this is the third time I've recorded this. It's probably why I'm a little bit more angry. Anyway, hope to talk to you again soon. Bye for now.